Republican Congressman Tom Cole represents the 4th District of Oklahoma. He voted yes on that GOP spending bill last night. It's always good to talk to you, Congressman. Republicans knew. You guys knew DACA was going to be a sticking point in the Senate. Couldn't you have come to some sort of agreement, avoided this, keep the government running by negotiating a DACA fix in the CR that passed last night? Why send something through that you know has so much opposition?
Well, first of all, we think there shouldn't be any opposition to keeping the government open while negotiations are underway. It's Democrats who've taken something that's unrelated, an immigration issue that, frankly, we've got until March to deal with, and there have been good faith negotiations in process, and linked it to funding the government. I think they've done it pretty cynically because they think they won't take the blame. Frankly, having lived through this when my party made exactly the same mistake I see Democrats making now, they will take the blame in the end. But
well, that's not what the polls show. I'm sure you know this, Congressman. If you look at the polls, let me just say this. It's a brand new poll by ABC Washington Post. 48% of Americans will put the blame on you and the president. Just 28% would blame the Democrats. What makes you think that these polls are wrong?
I think the event will change the polls. That's what always happens in this case. And frankly, when we voted, almost every Republican voted last night to keep the government open. Almost every Democrat voted to shut it down in the House. We see the same thing in the Senate. There they actually do have the ability. Senator Schumer and his Democratic colleagues do have the ability to shut down the government. Look, we haven't set any conditions. We're at the table negotiating. The other items in the bill were non-controversial, or things Democrats have been asking for. So there's really no excuse. And frankly, if it happens, I think the American people are wise enough. I think the media is astute enough that the truth will come out. Republicans voted to keep the government open and keep negotiating. Democrats voted to shut it down.
The truth of the matter is that the American people, and I've been talking to Trump voters over the course of the last year. I just talked to a group of them in Pennsylvania 2 days ago. So here's what they tell me. We sent the president to Washington because we were tired of business as usual. We were tired of the two sides fighting. And the civilian Donald Trump, back in 2013, had this to say about a shutdown. Take a listen.
Who's going to take the blame, Donald? I mean, in the boardroom here, who's getting fired? Who's going to bear the brunt of the responsibility if indeed there is a shutdown of our government?
Well, if you say who gets fired, it always has to be the top. I mean, problems start from the top, and they have to get solved from the top. And the president, and he's got to get everybody in a room, and he's got to lead.
So if that was true back then, is it not true now?
Well, frankly, I don't think it was true back then. If that were true, then Barack Obama would have gotten the blame for shutting down the government. He clearly didn't. Republican congressional action is what led to the government shutdown in 2013.
But the point that I think Donald Trump was making was that the buck should stop at the top.
Maybe that's the point he's making, but it didn't stop there. I mean, clearly what he predicted would happen in that case did not happen. Now, in this case, it's pretty clear to point to people who voted to shut down the government, to end funding the government, as opposed to keep negotiation. Democrats in the House did it last night. Democrats in the Senate are flirting with doing it today. It's a big mistake. Look, they should benefit from our experience. But if you want to cite polls before the event occurs, that's what opinion is today. Once the event occurs and you see your senator refusing to vote to fund the government, American people are pretty smart. They figure it out pretty fast, and they tend to put blame where it belongs, and I think they will in this case.
You know what the argument is on the other side? There are many, but one of them is that you guys are the ones who are holding up a deal because you want to kick dreamers out of the country. And there's a new poll out that shows almost 9 in 10 Americans support DACA. Are you listening to the American people by delaying a fix?
I think I am. No, we're not delaying a fix. We're in negotiation for a fix right now. I mean, why would you shut down the government in the middle of a negotiation? I mean, that's what the Democrats are doing. Nobody's trying to, push anything on them. We've had some give and take on both sides, some movement of each extreme toward one another, toward the middle. So, again, to me, why would you stop the negotiation by shutting down the government, changing the subject? I think the only reason is because you think it's going to work to your partisan political advantage. I will just tell you, hurting the American people, which is what shutting down the government does, never works to your political advantage. And Republicans have tried it and failed. Democrats do it. They will fail, and they'll pay a price for it. It's a mistake.
Well, we will see. We will see. We will not know, and hopefully we won't know because maybe there are.
We never know.
Let me ask you really, really quickly. Do you have any optimism that this meeting between Chuck Schumer and the president could change the equation right now?
I do, because Democrats have consistently argued against closing the government for many, many years. That's to their credit, in my view, by the way. And I think at the end, their own rhetoric will sober them up. But I think the president, again, he doesn't want to shut down. He's made that abundantly clear. So I do hold some degree of optimism for the discussion today.
Well, he said a couple of times that he would welcome a shutdown, so I'm not quite sure. But Oklahoma Republican Congressman Tom Cole, always good to have